What's up, nerds? So I'm coming at you with this article I saw from Bounding into Comics, and I wanted to talk about it because Gail Simone, that fat bitch, has decided to talk again. And I just want to be honest with you, I do not like Gail Simone. I don't think she's a good writer. I don't like anything that she's done as that I can think of off the top of my head. I'll just say right now, her Batgirl run was the worst Batgirl I've ever read in my entire life. And then she got fired from it and then tried to be like, it's because I'm a woman and it's sexism. And I'm just like, no, you wrote a shitty Batgirl comic book. I stuck with it for way too long and it was just pure shit. So, and she constantly says stuff that it's just so stupid, but whatever. She's a redhead. She has no soul, which is so true. All right. So she's decided to give us, her top 5 pet peeves of comics and offers her stern warning to a failing industry. Well, I just want to say right now before we get started, it's people like Gail Simone who have have driven this industry off a cliff. They've driven it straight into the ground. And what's her face that I can't remember her name, but she writes for both DC and Marvel. They're all activists now, and they write the crappiest stories. I'll tell you right now. Okay, so let's get into it because I might have to agree with her on some of them, but let me just read this right in here. This, like I said, this is from Bounding in Comics by John I don't know your name. Sorry, buddy. Increasingly, the comic book industry is seeing professionals, retailers, and fans grumble about the collapse of mainstream comics, from Mark Miller talking on Thinking Critical to IDW posting record losses. Almost everyone has an opinion, including Gail Simone, who talked about her 5 biggest pet peeves of the industry in a Facebook group this week. Yeah, she did, because she just has an opinion. Simone's critiques of the industry are pretty standard for what's been spoken of by creatives. So let's talk about her top 5 pet peeves, because the great Gail Simone has spoken. I'm sorry. I know maybe I'm being harsh in your opinion, but I really do not like this woman. She upsets me because, there's a lot of comic book writers that upsets me, like Tom King and everything, but Gail Simone, she pretty much is in my top 3, possibly top 2. She flips in and out. Anyways, okay, so number 1. Not making sure veteran pros have work if they want it. This one I completely agree with. I think that we should give people that have proven themselves and they can sell comic books. I think we should give them work. I'm sorry if you disagree with that. You shouldn't disagree with that, but I'm sorry. If you sell comics, you should get work because it's very obvious that you know what you're doing. I think like Mark Miller, I think he does a really good job. I mean, I think Todd McFarlane's really good too. I don't really know if he does anything outside of Spawn and everything these days, but he's pretty good. I'm trying to think of some other ones off the top of my head. I should have came up with these before I did, but there are some out there. Jonathan Hickman, I think he's pretty good. Some of his stuff gets really heady, but at the same time, I think that that's good. And I think that he's pretty good at sticking the landing. That's one of my things is if you're a comic book writer and you're really good at sticking the landing, you're A-okay with me. All right, so let's move on to number 2. Not respecting the stories that came before. Okay, for first off, I do agree that you should respect the stories that came before. But Gail Simone is I'm sorry, I could have swore she said something about how she wanted to take down cis white heroes, which is so hypocritical. This is hypocritical. You want to people to respect the stories that came before, but you constantly don't respect the stories that came before, especially if it's a white male. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Yeah, she's a hypocrite in this, and I think that you deserve what you get. And if this fails, it's because you're a part of you drove this train, you drove this into the ground, this car into the ground. So I don't want to hear it from you, Gail Simone. You didn't respect what came before. A lot of you don't respect these days. All these comic book writers, you're all friends, and you just hire activist friends and you write shitty comic books, and then you wonder why people don't want to buy your shit anymore. So I don't want to hear about it anymore. All right. So number 3, not allowing the artists room to contribute. I don't really know what she's talking about with this one. If she's talking about the one that actually draws, I mean, I guess you could have some input. I'm very curious as to what it is she's talking about. I don't know the comic book industry in terms of that in depth. But I would assume that if you were a comic book writer and you had an artist and they wanted to add something that may have not been there before, I mean, is that not allowed? That part I don't know. I really don't know enough about the comic book industry, like the inner workings going on. I'm just a comic book buyer, if you will. I like that, buyer, to buy. Anyways, okay. So but I don't really know the inner workings of it. So if the artist is not able to contribute in some way, shape, or form a little bit more than just draw, monkey, draw, then I just go, I don't know, because there's a lot of really good artists out there that I think that if you allow their artistic expression to flow, I think that maybe you would get a little bit more out of your comic book. So again, I don't really know about that one, but I guess I would agree. I guess I don't really know. So number 4, price point. I agree with this 100%, especially if you're buying crappy comics these days. These days, comic books are just pure shit. I usually nowadays, I mean, the floppies right now, they can, if it's a number one is usually the most expensive because people are like, ooh, it's a number 1, so I have to buy it and everything. Me, I have a tendency, my local comic book shop, which I adore, I usually go there and I read the number 1 to see if I like it or if it's somewhat, buyable, because sometimes they charge you like $10 for a number 1 issue or an anniversary edition or whatnot. And sometimes it's just not worth it. You know what I'm saying? And then the floppies, the weekly floppies, those are like $4.99, $5. And I granted, $5 by itself isn't an overwhelming amount of money. But let's say you buy, like you're like me, and you go and you buy a stack of floppies that week. That's a lot of money. That's like what? Well, let's just pretend it's $50. You spend $50 on floppies, or even $25. $25 is a lot of money, especially these days. I bought like a carton of milk the other day. That shit cost me my firstborn. So I'm just saying, floppies are a little too expensive now. And I just, I mean, what do you want? You guys, and they're not going to, I'm pretty sure they're not going to change, but they're trying to pay these people, which I don't think they deserve this money that they're getting paid. These comic book writers, they're getting paid too much for their activism writing. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And then this last one, lack of distribution options. I disagree with this 100%. I think that she just thinks that you can only go to a comic book shop and that's where you get your comic books from. And that's false. Me, I try my hardest to only buy from my local comic book shop. There's one that's literally like 5 minutes walking. It's from my house. I could get there in 3 minutes driving. But it's maybe walking is it's a little bit longer, maybe 10 minutes because I like to take my time. But anyways, okay, so it doesn't take that long to drive there. And I try to go there as much as possible to get my comic book needs. But let's just say for instance, I just bought the Wonder Girl comic books from the British, the Brazilian one that only lasted like 8 issues. Again, that comic book, it sucked, but I didn't have the first 2, I think the first one or the first 2 or whatever. I only bought the later ones from it, and I thought it would continue, and I was like, I really don't need the first one if I can continue this. But no, they stopped it, so I had to order it offline because they didn't have anymore, and they weren't going to order them or whatever, and so I had to order the 8 issues in trade paperback. So most of the time, and you can get them from Amazon. You can buy them from like, what was it? Like I sometimes get them from that Big Bad Toy Store. Is that what it's? Big Bad Toy Box? I don't remember what it's called, the website off the top of my head, but Amazon, you can buy them from all sorts of websites these days. You can get them from Barnes and Noble or anything like that where they sell books and you can order from that. They'll order them for you and stuff. And I think a lot of people are trying to get those omnibuses also because you get more bang for your buck. I mean, you can buy a whole omnibus and you spend like what, $50 right there instead of buying all these, individual ones. So I disagree with her on that. And that also goes back to that price point thing. But I disagree with her on the lack of distribution options. I think she's just focusing in on comic book shops, and maybe she should try to educate herself a little bit more. Maybe buy your own product, honey. Maybe then you'll understand where you can buy comic books from. But yeah, again, I just say that oh, here they go into it a little bit more here. I don't want to get it. I don't want to read all of their opinions on this, but I just think that Gail Simone, I just look at her and her little fat face. She's got some big ass hips too. Anyways, yeah, I'm picking on her. I don't care. Come at me, bitch. Come at me. I'll pick on her looks all I want, fucker. But she's just annoying. She's just annoying Yenta. It's just like sometimes bitches just don't know when to shut the fuck up, and she's just one of those ones that I have an opinion. I'm gonna get it out there, and it's like nobody really wants your opinion, and we really didn't ask for it. So yeah, all right, that's my opinion that you didn't ask for on this subject. I just made this video to shit all over Gail Simone because I literally do not like this woman. I hope I never meet her. I'm gonna give her a piece of my mind. Anyways, okay, you guys, that's all I got for you in this video. Tell me what you guys think about Gail Simone and her top 5 pet peeves. Like anybody gives a shit. If you like what I do here, though, and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube is always changing up their algorithm, and small channels like mine, we just keep getting shoved to the back of the line. And as always, go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. You know I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next video. You guys have a good day. Bye.